In every age, there comes a moment when the noise of cannon on distant shores grows loud enough to reach even the heart of a quiet village. Today, the world sees the fires of war as US and Israeli forces strike inside Iran, and a fearful answer rises in return. Yet this matter does not belong only to leaders or soldiers or secret councils in foreign halls. It belongs to every citizen who holds dear the cause of peace, law, and liberty. Picture, if you can, a town hall at dawn. The morning is cold. Lanterns flicker. Men and women gather, some in silence, some murmuring, stooped by worry they cannot name. The news from afar feels suddenly near. The weight of far-off battle lands upon common shoulders. What has happened to stir a peaceful home so deeply? US and Israeli military struck Iranian cities, seeking, they say, to stop a gathering danger. They speak of missile sites, machines of war, and the need to protect before harm grows too great. Iran answers with its own missiles, a promise called Truthful Promise 4. Bases across the Middle East, once steady, now feel unsteady. The United Nations, voice of caution, begs for an end before all is lost. Yet a question lies heavy here. In times of such confusion, who has truly shown lawful authority? Who decides when swords must speak? This is the burden of any republic, and it is not an easy one. We hear day by day the words of ambassadors and presidents: existential threat, aggression, self-defense, justice. But words fly faster than truth. Even now, major news tells us the death of a great leader is claimed, and then called false, still unproven. Reports of the war grow muddied, each story not quite the same, facts clashing mid-air. How can a citizen judge fairly when even truth is at war? Here let me pause. Picture a judge sitting in a plain chamber, a heavy law book open before her. She listens to two voices, each certain, each passionate, each claiming justice as their own. Yet she must not be caught by anger, nor by fear. She must weigh and measure for the sake of all, and so must we. This is not a distant struggle. Each day it grows nearer. The Omani minister speaks of lost negotiations, of peace falling away as anger sharpens swords. European nations warn of danger to civilians. Even far-off Australia, France, and the United Kingdom, old friends to the Republic, must choose their words and alliances with care. Now comes the first uncertainty. Have proofs been given? Have laws been kept? Or have actions surpassed the bounds of right? You may ask, as I do, is the power to strike truly in one person's hand, or must the people's voice be heard first? Let us settle this rightly. The law, both abroad and at home, is not simply a shield. It is the rope that binds a free people together. When it is cut, all drift apart in fear and suspicion. This is our first micro-loop, our gap. Have we seen proof of lawful authority? For now, we must accept that the world's parliaments and councils are asking as we do, holding their breath for answer. Imagine now a family seated at their table on a quiet night, the room dim, the outside world restless, unsettled. A father reads the day's news aloud, his voice uncertain, a child's eyes wide in worry. What lesson will be drawn? That fear runs the world, or that some higher rule still steadies it? Across the region, tension grows. Some nations condemn the strikes, others condemn the answer. Neighbors defend neighbors, alliances circle up, defending their own as storms gather. The old lines of trust now seem thin, as every promise is tested by fire and threat. Here rises the next gap. Can unity endure when passions rise so high? This is the second micro-loop. The seed of division shows, first in distant capitals, then in every street. Even friends among nations who once spoke in peace speak now with caution, with warning, sometimes with blame. Citizens may wonder aloud, will our unity survive if we disagree on war and peace? When leaders quarrel, do we forget what joins us? These are not idle questions. They form the very stone of the Republic's foundation. I tell you, Unity can only survive if each citizen holds in balance their own judgment and the common good. On the streets, in villages, in cities, people wait. Picture a busy marketplace at noon, buyers and sellers pausing as dread news passes from mouth to ear. The faces reveal worry, but also determination. Not all news is black and white, and not all hope is lost, even as voices argue what ought to be done. Now let us pass from unity to another peril, that of virtue itself. Even when nations mean well, fear and anger can draw them aside. Who guards against corruption, against the whispered voice that says, "Trust only mirth or power, and let virtue be silent"? This is the third microloop. When the world is disturbed, so too is conscience. In such moments, honest men and women must keep watch, not only over laws, but over hearts. Imagine, if you will, a quiet classroom as children stand to recite the pledge. Their teachers' eyes watch the flag and their faces, hoping the words grow roots inside their souls. It is easy for virtue to seem old-fashioned while grown men argue over missiles, but in truth, it is in days like this that the seed of character is planted or lost. The fires on distant shores are not only of oil or powder, they are trials of our own memory and virtue. For every citizen, the task is clear: to weigh carefully, to question bravely, and above all, to hold fast to both peace and principle. Thus do we face not only what has happened, but what ought we to do. Together, as one people, resolved not to be ruled by fear, but by the sober counsel of law, unity, and conscience. But here we meet the hardest point. A final micro-loop stands, when great events race ahead of understanding, when leaders act first and proof catches up later. Who restores calm and truth to the common mind? Is it only statesmen? Or is it also the crowd at the gate, the mother at her hearth, the shopkeeper, the clerk, the teacher in her school? Picture now a street at dusk, the glow of lamps, the sound of hurried footsteps, a newspaper crumpled under a watchman's elbow. Neighbors gather in tight groups, voices hushed, trusting, doubting, praying for peace. The city grows still, waiting for the next message from overseas. In truth, this final loop closes not in the marble halls, but in each citizen's soul. It is not for war or peace alone to decide the measure of a republic. It is the choice to demand truth, to search for justice, to hear the news, weigh its purpose, and hold leaders to the light of day, not the shadow. Let us be honest. In such days as these, when news is swift and war is swifter, each of us must serve as our own judge and our own guardian. We must seek what is right before what is easy, and where voices disagree, we must meet on the ground of reason. In closing this first part, allow yourself to think not only of distant capitals, but of your home, your street, the faces you see each day. For though the world's tempests seem far, their true test is always here, in the Republic's own heart. The Republic can be saved, but only by citizens ready to stand for both truth and peace, for the law and for each other. Let us continue with one question that lies above all others. If the world's storms rage, how does a republic hold fast to its compass? The answer, always, is found in steady citizenship. Imagine, if you can, a courthouse on a rainy morning, a line of men and women holding papers and umbrellas, waiting not for favors, but for justice. Each trusts that the rules apply to all, that might does not make right. It is in these quiet daily acts, voting, judging, serving, teaching, that a great nation finds its anchor. But storms test more than anchors. They strain each plank and rope. They rattle old alliances, old ways of doing business. We see this now as nations once certain of each other's friendship weigh every word with care. Picture a meeting table polished but scarred by long use. Around it sit diplomats from many flags. Each speaks of peace, but each guards his own. Some warn, some plead, some threaten. The old trust is thinner now, but not yet broken. Ask yourself, when trust wavers, what repairs it? Is it strength alone, or must there first be a willingness to listen and judge fairly? Not all allies see the same threat. Some urge restraint, others action. Families too are divided, neighbors disagree, newspapers argue. But here is a lesson as old as the Republic. Unity is not the same as perfect agreement. To live together in peace, we must allow every voice a part. We must repair the tears in our fabric daily with patience and respect. Imagine now a flag-lined street during a parade. Children wave as soldiers march, parents clap from the curb. There are cheers, of course, and sometimes debate. Some will ask, should we be here at all? Others will say, we must defend. Both want what is best, but only if neither lets anger swallow respect. It is in these moments, when the drums fade, that a republic faces its real test. Not on the battlefield, but at the kitchen table, at the ballot box, at school and in church, in every place where a citizen meets another across lines of difference. A day will come, as it always has, when war's fever will cool, when leaders must account for their choices, when facts, once hidden or uncertain, will be laid bare. If, in those hours, the citizen has watched, waited, questioned, and hoped, then the nation will weather the storm with her honor whole. But if instead we yield to fear, silence the doubters, treat our neighbors as enemies, then the Republic's true strength, her unity, withers. Across the long sweep of history, America has seen her share of storms, some brought by foes from without, some by division within. Yet always, her salvation lay not in sword or speech alone, but in the steady will of her people to make principle a daily fact. Picture an old farmer shutting the barn at dusk after a long day's work. He looks toward the horizon and sees dark clouds gathering. He does not panic, nor does he wait for someone else to save the harvest. He secures what he can, shares what he must, and trusts the morning will bring a chance to begin again. America's strength is her unity, not a unity that forbids dissent, for that would be the unity of chains, but a unity built on common hope, on faith in law, and most of all, on trust that the people themselves have a duty to preserve the Republic for those yet to come. Not all news is black and white. In times like these, we must remember that truth may wait, that loud voices often lead us astray, and that steady hearts shine a steadier light. We must challenge leaders with questions, demand proof, and refuse to be ruled by fear or rumor. As you listen to the news, as you speak with neighbors, as you teach your children or write your vote or keep watch across the night's silence, ask yourself, am I acting in fear or in hope? Am I building trust or divisions? Am I demanding justice for all or only ease for myself? Peace is not simply the absence of war. It is the presence of law, of order, and of moral purpose. Not every battle can be avoided, but every step should be taken first to heal, to understand, and to teach. Picture a teacher standing before her class as morning sun spills onto worn desks. She writes a single word in chalk: peace. The students stare, some in confusion, some with hope. It is the teacher's lesson, but also ours, that peace is made fresh each day by those who will choose it, defend it, and teach it anew. At the close of all storms, the Republic stands if her people choose calm over panic, unity over division, hope over fear. This is not the work of presidents or generals alone. It belongs to every citizen, to you, to me, to all who call this land home. I have seen in my own long days that the soul of the Republic is not lost to war or challenge, so long as her people remember that wisdom, law, and conscience must guide every hand, every word, every hope. So I ask you, dear citizen, as the news darkens and voices rise, what sort of republic do you seek to build by your own example in your own home today? The Republic can be saved, and indeed, she awaits your answer.